They might be coming off a loss, but that doesn't mean their expectations have changed. Nebraska still believes they're good enough to win every game on this schedule. Purdue's given them trouble in the past, but Ryan Walters hasn't found the winning formula yet, and playing a team off a loss with something to prove isn't the best scenario. Illinois exposed their weaknesses and showed the rest of the Big Ten how to beat Matt Rule at his own game. The question is, which teams have the talent to execute that same game plan? We're getting ready for the first road game of the season, so today we'll talk about what this game means for both teams, how Nebraska matches up with Purdue, and I'll give you my final score prediction. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Corn Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my Friday night live stream. And if you think this defense bounces back and plays up to their standard this week, hit the like button and help us get to 1,000. But now, let's get into it.
He's hit and set. He's taking a shot downfield, wide open end zone, caught, touchdown.
I'm sure you saw this already, but I've seen mixed opinions on this Matthew Sluka situation over at UNLV, and I wanted to give you my thoughts since this won't be the last time that we see this type of thing happen in college football. To sum it up, Sluka transferred back in January after he was told he'd get an NIL deal worth $100,000, but then 3 games into the season, and he's only been paid $3,000 in total. So last night, he announced that he's going to use his red shirt, then he's going to transfer again to play his senior season at a different school next year. Now, the reason the story's so crazy isn't just because we're in the middle of the season. Sluka's the starting quarterback on a team that's 3-0 with a win over Kansas, and at this point, they look like a group of 4 playoff contender. Now, I've seen 2 reactions online. One is that he should stay at UNLV and not be selfish, since he's not that good of a QB anyway, and he should be loyal to his coaches and his teammates. Then 2 is that he needs to leave and he needs to hold the school accountable for not honoring the deal, whether it was verbal or written. And that second point's the correct one. Sluka's not an NFL QB. He's a 50% passer who's way more effective with his legs. So although he's a winner in college, he's not going to get paid to play after he graduates. He's got 1 more year of eligibility. So if somebody's willing to pay him for that 1 season, he needs to go where they're going to pay him. It's so funny reading the comments on Twitter because the only people calling him selfish or saying he needs to be loyal to the school that wasn't loyal to him are the same ones who haven't gotten by life yet. Purdue's coming into this week on an 0-2 run after getting blown out at home by Notre Dame, where they missed about 40 tackles and gave up 580 yards in total offense to lose by 60. Then last week, Oregon State dominated in time of possession, holding the ball for 20 minutes longer than Purdue's offense, and then the school who got left out of conference realignment ended up winning that game by 17. Now, Nebraska's off a loss too, but Illinois is a top 20 team with a 5th-year head coach, and that game went to overtime. The expectations for their seasons are completely different. Ryan Walters is desperate for any signs of life on defense, and Hudson Card's looking for a receiver to step up since the only guy with more than 5 receptions is their tight end. Rule just wants this team to respond well to adversity. They thought they were too good to play Illinois, and they came out flat against a team who just wanted it more. A win for Nebraska gets them back on track with a 4-1 record headed into one of the toughest 3-game stretches of their season. A win for Purdue keeps their bowl hopes alive for at least 1 more week, but more importantly, it would give Purdue the confidence they haven't had all season. We're going to get into how these 2 match up, but first, I got to shout out today's sponsor, Prize Picks. I went off last week and I had over $400 in winners thanks to Raiola and Dowdell, but I wasn't alone. Omar turned $24 into $365 during the Illinois game, and Connor rode with Naor to turn $15 into a $142 winner. Our Corn Craze subscribers went off, and they had a huge weekend on the app. If you haven't made an account yet, you can sign up with our promo code CORN and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. And you don't even have to win to get that $50 in promo. You just choose which players are going to go for more or less than the app has listed. Scores, yards, catches, points. And this week, they're offering UCF's running back at a 40-yard discount against Colorado. So we're definitely going to use him and the free Caleb Williams play to win some more lineups this week. Prize Picks is available in Nebraska, California, Texas, and over 30 other states. So if you see your state colored in, you can play there. I'll give out all my plays on the Friday night live stream and in our Corn Craze Discord group. So if you want to set some lineups with us this week, you can use our promo code and join us over there. Since Nebraska joined the Big Ten, they've played Purdue 11 times and won 6, but last year's game was one of the most impressive performances yet. The offense scored 21 points despite turning it over 4 times. Alvano nailed a 55-yard field goal after Newsome returned a block kick back for a TD. And the defense held Hudson Card and their running backs to less than 100 yards on the ground and through the air. Purdue's been a toss-up game every year, but Ryan Walters is in a much different phase of his rebuild than Matt Rule is. The expectation in year 2 was for Card to take a step forward as a passer with more familiarity in Graham Harrell's offense, but the playmakers they expected to step up at receiver haven't been a factor. Their tight end leads the team with 10 catches for 153 yards, but behind him, they don't have a go-to weapon that Card can look to as his go-to guy. He's completing 63% of his passes and throws twice as many TDs as he does picks, but the offense relies on the run to move it downfield. Devin Mockabee's their top back, who averages almost 8 yards a carry, and behind him is former Illinois starter Reggie Love, who goes for more than 6. If you watch their last 2 games against ND and Oregon State, you saw 2 things. One, the O-line was terrible against the blitz, and they gave up a combined 13 sacks and tackles for loss. 2 was that the receivers struggled to get open downfield, and Card was only able to complete 6 passes that went for more than 5 yards. Illinois showed last week that Nebraska's defense will give up big yards in the run game if you can establish a pass, but Graham Harrell's offense hasn't been able to do that. If they come out trying to run and Nebraska's prepared to stop it, I don't know if Card can capitalize downfield while White stacks the box. And even if he does have time to get the ball out, we've seen stupid errors by the QB that went for interceptions. If Nebraska takes a lead like Oregon State or Notre Dame were able to, then this offense isn't built to play from behind. On defense, Purdue's been an embarrassment. If you were upset watching Nebraska's second half effort last week, you'll be disgusted watching Walters' defense these past 2 games. Not only are they slow on the perimeter and get twisted out of position like a high school team, they don't know how to tackle. They're just as likely to dive at somebody's leg and hope for the best as they are to actually use proper form and wrap somebody up. It's been a joke, and if it keeps up, there's no way this staff is going to last much longer. Nebraska's offense thrives with misdirection, end arounds, and play actions that force the defense to play disciplined. But everything we've seen from those guys so far is that unless there's a downhill run coming straight at them, they have no clue how to adjust on the fly and make a more complex read. One thing to note is that Purdue gets Nyland Green back at corner for the first time this season after he transferred in from Georgia, and he's going to have the potential to be one of their best guys on that side of the ball. So although the secondaries look pretty weak so far, they could be slightly better with that change. But that's not the real concern. Nebraska's rocking with 3 backs who can put up serious yards, and Purdue gave up 350 on the ground back-to-back weeks. If Raiola finds success through the air, then I'd expect that to set up for a big run game, and we could see 2 backs going for close to 100 yards each. The other way you throw Nebraska off is with takeaways. Nayor and Lloyd both lost balls to DBs in back-to-back games, but Purdue hasn't forced a single turnover yet this season. I guess it could come this week, but unless another receiver decides to let it slip through his arms, it feels pretty unlikely. Looking at the edge, I'm taking Nebraska's offense because they have an O-line that can hold up against pressure for long enough to get the ball out downfield. Their receiving core is deep, and Dillon can trust at least 4 of them to make big plays in clutch moments. And the running backs that average over 5 yards a carry have been consistent in every game they played. On defense, it's simple. Nebraska had a bad day. They looked sloppy at times, but they've been more consistent over the last 10 games they played. The DBs are as big a playmakers as the pass rushers who've gotten consistent pressure in the backfield. So while Card might have to throw to stay in this game, he's going to have a hard time finding open receivers. Special teams is automatically against Nebraska. They're totally broken right now. I don't know what the solution is, but it's time Rule starts acting like Dan Campbell. Play 4-down football. Rely on the best player on your team to make the play, and ultimately react responsibly to the situation at hand. The coaching staff edge belongs to Nebraska too. Graham Harrell struggled to get the offense going in his last 3 stops. Walters was a superstar coordinator at Illinois, but it's clear now that he was thriving with top-tier NFL talent, and they were a big part of his success. As far as motivation goes, Purdue lost big to Notre Dame, and they didn't look any better in their follow-up moment. Nebraska's proven to come out fiery after bad losses and wants to prove they're better than what their previous tape showed. Purdue might be the worst team in the conference, but anybody can win in the Big Ten, so I'd expect Nebraska to play one of their best games of the season to get back on track. Vegas set this line at 9.5, and now it's up to 10, and I won't be surprised if it keeps going up. In the last game, Nebraska looked pretty weak towards the end, but they were still in position to win up until overtime. Purdue has to win this game if they want any chance at reaching a bowl, but even if they did pull it off, 5 wins still looks like their ceiling. I'm not buying into the home field, homecoming weekend advantage that Purdue's getting here. Their fans are checked out just like half of their players seem to be, and this spread feels low considering how much more proven talent Rule's roster features. The total set at 47.5, which means Vegas expects something like 29-19 as the final score. And I think the total's accurate, but Purdue holding Nebraska to only 4 touchdowns does feel kind of low. I'm not going to touch the total, but I'm 100% taking a bet against the spread. Last week, I said for Illinois to pull the upset, they only need to expose the Nebraska secondary and find success downfield so they could pick up yards in the run game. And that's exactly what they did. Purdue needs to follow that exact same strategy. If Sierra Wright's starting in place of Tommy Hill again, attack him early and often. And then if they find a hot receiver, Nebraska is going to feel pressure to drop linebackers back to help cover in zone. For Nebraska to win, they just have to protect Dillon, stop with the stupid penalties, and catch the balls that come their way. The weapons on offense are so much better than anybody on Purdue's D that chunk plays are going to be inevitable. If Hudson Card's forced to throw to stay in the game, which I fully expect he will be, it'll be an exciting day for the Blackshirts with multiple turnover opportunities. Rule's team knows they're better than what they showed last week. They know their goals are all still on the table. A top 25 finish, a Big Ten championship, a playoff spot. 4-1 gets them right back on track, and in another Big Ten game where anything can happen, they'll have their foot on the gas the entire way through. Purdue isn't an easy place to play, but on a Saturday morning, it's not going to be an intimidating environment. So give me Nebraska to win 35-16. And as long as Rule doesn't go for any field goals that aren't perfectly aligned for an easy make, I think Dillon's going to be 100% on 4th down conversions. You can afford to drop a game early in the season, but if you can't respond to adversity, maybe it's time to change those expectations. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Does Rule trust the kicking game, or is he more inclined to go for it on 4th down? Is a 10-point spread too big for you to bet, or is Purdue really that bad? And who's your breakout player for this week? Nayor and Banks went off against Illinois, but I'd take Dowdell to go for over 100 yards on Saturday, and I'll have him in multiple prize picks lineups. But that's all I've got for the day. So until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.